You didn't choose your name. You didn't choose your language. You didn't choose the God they told you to worship or the flag they told you to salute. By the time you opened your eyes, the world had already started writing your story for you. Be a good boy. Don't talk back. Say thank you. God is watching. You learned how to smile on cue, how to sit still, how to color inside the lines even when the page was blank. And every time you obeyed, they rewarded you, not with the truth, but with approval. And you learned fast that approval felt better than truth. That was your first addiction. You didn't choose your thoughts, you inherited them, like hand-me-downs, stitched together by people who never questioned their own. This is how the trance begins. First, your parents install the software. Then your teachers debug it. Then your culture runs it in the background forever. And by the time you realize you've been programmed, the program is already running you. But no one calls it programming. They call it growing up. They call it being realistic. They call it you. Then came adolescence. You wanted to be yourself, but no one told you who that was. So you became whatever kept you safe, whatever got you love, whatever made you feel visible. You changed your voice. You copied their slang. You dressed like the group, even when it felt like a costume. You didn't choose your identity. You assembled it like armor. A personality made of secondhand ideas, glued together by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being invisible, fear of silence. So you talked louder, you laughed harder, played the role perfectly. And deep down, a question flickered. If this is who I am, why does it feel like I'm acting? Now you're older, wiser they say. But how much of what you believe was ever yours to begin with? Look at your feed, look at your playlists, your heroes, your fears. How many of your thoughts came from direct experience? And how many came from curated reality, chosen for you, served to you, filtered for you? You think freely. Try to have a thought you've never heard before. Try to believe something no one else will applaud you for. That's when you'll feel it, the pushback, the panic, the algorithm screaming, stay in line. You've been trained to confuse obedience with intelligence, popularity with truth, and comfort with reality. You don't have to be in chains to be enslaved. All it takes is never questioning the voice in your head. But what if that voice isn't you? The mind you think is yours isn't. It's a theater. And the world has been writing your lines since day one. But somewhere in that silence, something else is watching. Not the voices, not the noise. You. The real you. It usually starts small. A flicker, a feeling, something doesn't sit right. You hear a phrase you've heard 1,000 times before, but suddenly it sounds foreign, meaningless, like someone else's memory. You pause, and for the first time, instead of reacting, you notice. A strange quiet sets in. Not peace, not yet. Just a sudden gap between the world and your mind. Like there's a space you never saw before, and now it's wide open. And in that space, you ask a forbidden question. Where do my thoughts come from? Not the easy thoughts, not the surface level opinions you throw around in conversation. The deeper ones, the beliefs, the judgments, the fears, the internal commentary running nonstop. The voice that talks to you about you inside your own head. Who put it there? That's when the glitch begins. Your brain reaches for answers, the usual files, but something's off. You can almost feel the gears skipping, the system stuttering. What used to feel like you suddenly feels installed. You remember being angry about something passionately, a political issue, a social cause. You screamed about it, posted about it, lost sleep over it. And now, sitting alone in silence, you can't even explain why. Not without quoting someone else. Not without summoning a script you didn't write. And that terrifies you. Because if you didn't write the script, who did? You begin to see patterns, not in the world, but in yourself. Recurring emotional loops, reactions that happen before you have time to think, words that come out of your mouth like code being executed. And when you trace them back, your insecurities, your pride, your resentment, your guilt, you don't find truth. You find memory, conditioning, expectation. You realize your mind isn't thinking, it's echoing. You're not deciding, you're recycling. But this insight isn't freeing, no, not yet. It's horrifying. It's like waking up inside a dream and realizing the dream has been dreaming you. You try to explain it to someone, anyone, but the words come out wrong, they laugh or get uncomfortable, or they just change the subject. And that hurts, not because they don't believe you, but because you realize that they can't see it yet. They are still inside. You start hearing things differently. Commercials sound like sermons. Politicians sound like hypnotists. Influencers sound like clones. Everyone is speaking, but no one is thinking. They're just projecting downloaded fragments. And then it happens. A single thought appears, clear, original, piercing. It doesn't feel like the usual internal noise. It feels alien and yet familiar. Like hearing your real voice for the very first time. It says, "This isn't you." And just like that, the entire mental architecture begins to shake. You start doubting everything. Your goals, your beliefs, your relationships, even your personality. You ask yourself, if this isn't me, who am I? The glitch gets louder. More thoughts arise, not in words, in flashes, insights, memories rearranging, assumptions unraveling. You try to go back to normal, to re-enter the loop, but it won't let you. You hear someone say something you used to agree with, and now it sounds insane. You hear your own voice from a year ago, and it makes your skin crawl. You reread old journal entries and feel like a stranger wrote them. The identity you clung to is dissolving, not slowly, but violently. This is the beginning of ego death. The mask starts to fall apart, and you realize it's not a single mask, it's layers, each one pretending to be you, each one whispering thoughts into your head, hoping you never question where they came from. But now you are questioning, and that makes you dangerous. You stop reacting, you stop justifying, you stop arguing. Instead, you listen, not to the noise, not to the voices, but to the silence behind them. And in that silence, something wakes up. Not a new identity, not a better personality, but an awareness, a watcher, something that doesn't speak in language, something that's just there, behind your eyes, watching it all unfold. And for a moment, everything stops. The loop breaks. The noise, it fades. The thoughts scatter, and all that's left is you. But not the you they trained, not the one who learned to perform, the one who was always watching, always waiting, always still. This is the glitch, the first crack in the simulation. It doesn't happen all at once. The awakening doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt from the sky. It seeps in quietly, through the cracks left by the glitch. You start noticing moments of pure observation where thoughts arrive, but they don't possess you. Emotions come, but they don't hijack you. A space opens between stimulus and response, and in that space, something lives, something real. At first, you call it awareness, then you call it presence, then maybe even consciousness. But those are just labels. What you're really touching is you, not the persona, not the voice in your head, not the collection of memories and reactions. You're touching the monad, your soul. The monad doesn't judge. It doesn't panic. It doesn't seek. It simply observes perfectly, endlessly. It has no name, no gender, no history, and yet it is the most you've ever felt. The first time you make contact, it's subtle, almost missable. A quiet moment, no thought, no emotion, just a calm, expansive stillness. You notice your breath without controlling it. You feel your body without identifying with it. You become the witness. And in that witnessing, you realize the dream world you lived in was never yours. You were dreaming someone else's dream. All your life, you were the avatar, the character inside the simulation. You thought the world was outside you, that you were moving through it, but now you see it. Everything you ever experienced, every color, every sound, every sensation, was inside your mind. The mind is not in the world is in the mind. In the mind, it's not the brain. It's not neurons firing in meat. It's not electrical pulses trapped in a skull. The mind is dimensionless, eternal, mathematical. This is when the terror returns, because now you're not just confronting false beliefs, you're confronting the death of matter, time, and externality. Everything physical starts to look thin, unstable. You touch your hand and you question if it's really there. You hear a voice and wonder if it was ever yours. You look in the mirror and you see a mask. But instead of fear, something else rises. Awe. You've never been here before, not like this. And you realize this isn't a metaphor. This is literal. The cave from Plato, it wasn't a myth. It was your life. The fire was the media, the culture, the constant feed. The shadows were your thoughts, your beliefs, your identity. You didn't escape by crawling out physically. You escaped by waking up mentally. You turned around. You saw the source. And now you're stepping into the light. At first, it burns. The truth sears. You see all the lies, all the games, all the fear-based control mechanisms you used to call the real world. But you don't run back because you're not the same. You're not interested in arguing anymore, not in proving anything, not in convincing others who aren't ready, because you see what the monad sees, a world of sleeping minds, dreaming they're awake. You speak less. You listen more. You crave silence, not noise. Stillness, not simulation. Truth, not comfort. And in that stillness, something extraordinary happens. You begin to understand the code. Not a metaphorical code, actual mathematical structure. You feel it in the rhythm of the waves, the spiral of the galaxies, the geometry of breath. Reality begins to reveal its architecture. Sine waves, frequency domains. You understand that this isn't physics, it's ontology. You're not studying a dead universe, you're experiencing a living one. A universe made of pure thought, pure mind, pure math. You see yourself not as a body, but as a point of infinite potential, a singularity of reason swimming in an ocean of form. You're not in space, you are space. You're not in time, you are the change. You are the dreamer and the dream and the waking up. And for the very first time, you understand what freedom actually is. It's not about doing whatever you want. It's about being who you truly are. Not the mask or the role or the puppet, but the monad, the spark, the observer. And once you feel that, you can never go back. You'll try. You'll have days where you get pulled back into the feed, the noise, the scrolling. But you'll always notice now. You'll catch it, you'll remember, and slowly it becomes less seductive, less real. Because you've seen reality, you felt it, you've been it. And now your job isn't to escape, it's to stay awake, to walk through the cave with your eyes open, to see the fire for what it is and still move past it, to speak to others, not to convince, but to remind, to become the glitch in their dream, to plant the seed. Not everyone will turn around. Most, they're going to call you crazy. Some will call you dangerous. A few might try to silence you. But those who are ready, they'll hear it. They'll feel it. And they'll remember too. Because the truth isn't taught, it's recognized. And once you recognize it, the light never leaves. This, my friend, is the awakening. It's not a moment. It's a process. It's not an escape. It's a return. It's not a story. It's a remembrance. And now that you've remembered, who's thinking your thoughts? Freedom is a burden. No one tells you that part. You escape the cave. You face the fire. You see the world for what it is. And suddenly, the question changes. It's no longer what is real. Now it's, what will you do with the truth? Because the moment you wake up, you realize something brutal. There's no going back. You can't unsee the puppet strings. You can't pretend the shadows are real. You can try. I mean, most do. They crawl back into the cave. They sit quietly, rechain themselves, but it never feels the same. The illusion is too thin. And the ones who stay out, they don't get applause. They don't get comfort. They get silence, isolation, and resistance. The world doesn't celebrate those who break the spell. It shuns them. Imagine that. Because the awakened, they remind everyone else of what they're avoiding. So here you are, awake, alone, and faced with the most dangerous question of all. Now what? You can choose to stay silent, to walk softly, to protect your peace, and keep your revelations private. Many do. They live quiet lives, half in and half out, aware, but passive observers. And maybe there's wisdom in that. Maybe not everyone is meant to be a disruptor, but there's another path, a harder one. You can choose to speak. You can choose to write, to disrupt, not to evangelize, but to plant seeds, to become the glitch in someone else's matrix, the whisper that pierces their trance. It won't be easy. The system is designed to suppress those voices. You'll be mocked, misunderstood, labeled as extreme, crazy, too deep, too much. You might lose friends. No, you're gonna lose friends. You might fracture relationships, but what you gain is something untouchable. You gain alignment with yourself, with truth, with the monad. You stop outsourcing your meaning to others. You stop waiting for permission to be real. You become the signal in a world of noise. And maybe, just maybe, someone else hears it. Maybe one person stumbles across your message and it sparks something in them. Maybe they turn around. Maybe they begin to question. Maybe the chain slips. You won't get to see it. That's not how this works. The awakening isn't a show. There's no standing ovations. There's only the quiet revolution of minds unfolding one by one. But make no mistake, this is a war, a silent war for consciousness, a battle not fought with weapons, but with ideas, not with armies, but with your awareness. And the enemy is comfort, distraction, and mindless conformity. The algorithmic hypnosis that keeps people asleep with just enough pleasure to forget they're imprisoned. So what will you do? Will you go back to the performance? Back to the identity that was crafted for you? Back to the feed, to the scroll, to the mask? Or will you walk forward into the light, into the unknown, into yourself? Because awakening isn't the end, it's the beginning. Now, the real work begins. Deprogramming, rebuilding, learning how to think, not just react. How to feel, not just to mimic. How to exist, not just perform. It's not pretty, I'm telling you, it's not pretty. It's not always peaceful, but it's real. And after a lifetime of lies, real is worth the cost. You won't be able to save everyone. That's not your job. You have one job, and that job is to stay awake, to stay honest, to stay human in a world trying to automate everything about you, and to remember every system is terrified of a mind it can't control. You are that mind. The choice is yours, but deep down, you already know you were never meant to stay in the cave. You were born to burn, and now that you've seen the light, now that you've become the light, the only question that remains is, will you shine in silence or will you start a fire?